We got some people joining. Good morning. Well, we're right at 9 o'clock, so I'm just going to get this thing going and we'll just keep it moving. So, good morning, everybody. Looks like we got quite a few people attending and some familiar names, so that's good. Thank you for joining. My name is Jen Marcinaro. I'm an account manager at SafetyNet. And today I am with Greg Herent, who is our account executive and our software expert on Microsoft's Copilot. Just for a quick intro, if you're not familiar with SafetyNet, we're a managed IT provider. We work with small to mid-sized businesses and managing their IT. We highly value our relationship with our clients and security. So as we know, the threatscape is moving very quickly. IT moves quickly. Security is in turn moving quickly as well. So along with that is the introduction of AI, which we all know has also taken over the world very fast. We did a presentation, Greg did a presentation a couple weeks ago on Microsoft's Copilot, just as an introduction, get people kind of familiar with it. And we had a huge response afterwards with give us more, give us more. So we've been doing this 3-part series to educate our clients and people who might not be a client with us on how to use the products and just get more in depth on specifics like Microsoft Word, Outlook, and Excel. So today we're here to talk about Microsoft's Copilot, which is their artificial intelligence, and we are honing in on Outlook. So Greg, I guess I'll just hand it over to you and let you do your thing.
Okay. Well, thank you. Good. Thank you, Jen. Good morning, everyone. As Jen said, we're going to be talking about Outlook. And unlike my presentation that we made over at NMC, this is going to be more hands-on. So feel free to put your questions in the chat window. And at the end, we'll have another opportunity for questions. So we'll get to all of your questions. But feel free during the presentation to submit your questions. So this morning, we're going to get right into using examples of Copilot in Outlook. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Outlook. The one thing, as I said before, is kind of a risk with demoing Copilot in a live environment is that they're always making changes to Outlook. Copilot. Copilot is evolving constantly. The term I heard was it's a baby, it's growing yet. And so they're rolling out new features all the time. But one of the things I want to point out is I'm using the new Outlook. What does that mean? Up in the upper right here, I've slid the button to new. So what does that mean? Copilot works better in new versus, I'll call it the classic. I don't know if I want to call it old Outlook, but, and you have to be on an Office 365 license of either Business Basic, Standard, or Premium, or any of the enterprise licenses. Once you do that, then you're able to buy the Copilot license and enable it. So, so that's the first thing that I wanted to make sure that you're aware of. The other thing is when you go into your inbox, the first thing you'll see is that I can get a summary. So here I have an email. It happens to be spam, so it's a good one to pick on. I'm going to go ahead and click summary. One of the things that a Copilot for Outlook allows you to do is take a very lengthy email and summarize it. This is an email from Michael. He's trying to reach out to me to get 15 minutes of my time and talk about a service that he has. If I open up the email and I click reply, I can draft it with Copilot by saying, you know, I'm not interested. please unsubscribe me. So I can go ahead and click it. So rather than me typing, hey, I'm not interested, take me off your mailing list, I can go ahead and click it. And it comes up and it says, hey, I appreciate your interest in working with SafetyNet, but I'm not looking for any deployment services. I can come down here to the options. As you can see, I can say, make it longer, make it shorter. I can say, hey, make it sound more casual. So this is a little more shorter. It says, hey, thanks for your email, but I don't need any global hardware deployment services right now. Please take me off your contact list. I hope you get and respect my decision. The other thing I can do is you see up here, because I had a first response, now it's 2 of 2. I can go back and look and see what the first one was. I can go forward. And so I can go back to the first one and say, you know what? I want to keep that one. Now, like I've mentioned in previous Copilot sessions, Copilot is working with me. So that's why Microsoft in their artificial intelligence decided to use the word Copilot. It means it's myself and the artificial intelligence. So what does that mean? This email is coming from me. The other thing I can do is I can change it here, type it. I can check for spelling errors, because Copilot does not, sometimes makes grammatical errors. So any underlines that you see here, you may want to fix. There's none here. So I could go ahead and hit send. I'm not going to reply to him. Now, that was a short email for a summary. Here's one that's a little bit longer. And if I scroll through it, you'll see there's a lot of screen prints. And let's say I've been out of the office and I just want the highlights. So on a longer email, the summary you'll probably find more beneficial, especially if you're involved in an email chain and you've been out of the office for any length of time. It gives you a very nice summary. In this one, I'd requested some information from Russell about backup and restore procedures, and it's saying that he provided detailed information on the backup and how many times the backups are done, the status logs, and if I need anything, he's willing to help. That was all in this very lengthy email. So the nice thing is I got it very quickly. The other thing that it does is I can say, I want to do a new email. Okay. And one of the things I want to point out is I can click here, draft with Copilot. I can come up here and say draft with Copilot, or anytime in Outlook, I can hit the /. The really interesting thing with the / is I can say draft with Copilot, but I can also say include a file. So I do that. So how many times have you had to search for a file? I could actually just type in the name of the file and it would attach it. Here it attached a link because I have it in SharePoint. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to draft an email for using Copilot. And I happen to be on vacation next week. So I'm going to write an email saying I'm going to be on vacation next week. So write an email about being on vacation next week and that Jen will be covering for me. And she is going to be helping me. She's saying no, but she is. And it did a nice job. And then I'm taking a look at it and I go, I really should put dates on there, that I'm going to be out to the 15th through the 6th through the 19th, and I'll be returning back in on the 22nd. So down here is the modifier. So I can say, put the dates of my vacation returning on the 22nd, and then I can hit this button here. to add that. So it takes my existing content that I had, and now it's refining it even more. So it says, I want to let you know I'm on vacation from July 15th to 19th, returning on the 22nd. I say, okay, that's pretty good. Oh, you know what? I want to address this email to Tim. So I say, address the email to Tim. So the idea that I want to leave you with here is that you can reiterate many times, and you find yourself doing it. So see how it added Dear Tim to it, keeping my original information that I had. Then I realized, I should have Jen's email here. It made up an email address, so I'm going to say add Jen's email address. Now be able to respond and see now how it substituted the email address. I could also come in here and say add Jen's telephone number. The nice thing too is I can come down here and modify it. I can say make it more casual. Again, it's keeping all that information that I gave it about my dates that I want Jen to cover, what Jen's email address is, and so it changed it. I don't know. I've seen this one before. Make it a poem. I've never had a use for making an email a poem, but if you wanted to make your email a poem, you could. The other thing I can do down here is if I'm writing another type of email, I may say keep it to 4 sentences, and it will do that for me, and I can redraft it. Again, you'll see up here that I say 5 of 5, and so I can go through here and pick the one that I like. So I'm going to say keep it and do it. Now, the one thing that Copilot currently does not do for us, it does not pick a subject line for me, and it doesn't automatically pick the sender for me. I know it'd be nice if in the command I could enter it and say, hey, uh, send the email to Tim. Here's his email address. Currently, it does not do that, but I'm seeing that every day they're adding new functions. So I look for that to come out. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. One of the things I will tell you that I found with the new Outlook is that notice how it didn't ask me if I wanted to save my email when I signed out, or do I want to send it? It automatically saved it in drafts. So sometimes I'll just give you a heads up with the new Outlook. You have to be careful because sometimes you'll have unsent email in drafts. Just wanted to give you a heads up that I've learned with it. The other thing you can do is there's 2 different types of Copilot. I showed you when you're composing an email and working with an individual email, but I can come up to Copilot up on my toolbar here, and I can ask questions. What kind of questions would I ask? Well, how many times have you been sent an email and you're looking for that email? And you use the traditional search up here, right? You search for an email address, you search for a keyword, and you have a hard time finding it. Well, I got an email from Carrie, and she was talking about a benefit that we offer employees. And so I'm going to come down to here. I'm going to say, find an email from Carrie with an attachment named Employee Assistance Program. So it's going to comb through my email. I had to pick search words that I felt were safe. Because this is my live email. Notice how it did not open up the email for me, but it made a notation to it. So I click here, right? And then I say, open the email. It should. So here's the email that it found. And so here's the email and here's the attachment. So rather than me have to look through all of those emails, I can do it. And then here's the footnote that allows me to find it and click on it. It also gives me a summary of what she said in the email. So I say, yep, that's the right one, and click the footnote. So that's just something that I have found it really good to use it for. The other thing that's kind of nice with it is when you sit down and you can query your calendar here as well. So I'm in Outlook, right? And I say, how does my week look for meetings? So I can say, how does my week look for meetings? And it's taking a look at my calendar right now, and it's going to query it, and it's going to bring up all of my meetings that I have on my calendar. The other useful feature that you can use in here is you can also say, when's my next meeting with Jen? So it will look through my calendar and I can say, when's the next meeting that I have with Jen? So I'm just giving you an example of types of things that you can pose. The other thing that's kind of interesting with Outlook, with Copilot for Outlook, is, boy, I guess I have a lot on my calendar. I can also, it's given me other things. And it says, tell me what's the topic of the weekly cyber calls. So it will actually go to that point on my calendar. And if my meeting request has a topic in it, it will tell me what that topic is. So I can say, what's the topic of my weekly cyber calls? What it's also doing is it's going through all of my Office 365 environment. So that's SharePoint, email, so that's Word documents, Excel documents. It's finding things related to the weekly cyber calls. So it's telling me it's a reoccurring event. The description is it's a crowdcast session. So there's really, every week the agenda changes, but you get the idea. Is it would give me the agenda if there was one for that particular meeting. Again, it tells me what the reference is, and so I could open up that reference. So in this case, it's the reoccurring meeting for the cyber calls because I have a standing Monday meeting for related to cyber. The other thing that you can do is you can come down here and you can view prompts. And these are some prompts that Microsoft is suggesting that you can do. So I want to understand something. So I can catch up on unread emails. I'm going to be out of the office next week on vacation. When I return on the following Monday, I can actually come in here and say, identify any unread emails that are important. Identify unread emails where I'm mentioned. So I have a follow-up activity to do. Do I have any action items in my unread email? So I'm coming back and it will actually give that for me. So it's a really cool function that Microsoft has rather than you reading through all of those emails. I can also say, just summarize my upcoming meetings for the next 2 days. I gave the example of a week, but I could do that. I can also say, summarize emails from a particular sender. So if you have somebody that you correspond with, I can say, hey, summarize those emails. So I can click summarize emails and I could key in Jen. I'm not going to do that because there's a lot of emails, but you get the idea. They have the built-in prompts. Now, one of the things that Microsoft did do with the whole Copilot line, and that's for across the whole Office 365. So Word, Excel, Outlook, is that they've given you some sample prompts. I'm going to go back to my Copilot presentation. And I'm going to go here. Again, like Jen said at the beginning, this is a re-record it and you can get back to it. I'll give you the link for that in a moment. But here, this is opening up the standard, some ideas of questions that you could pose for Outlook. So they call it prompts to try. So I could say, just like I give you the example, write an email on my vacation. I could say, draft an email congratulating it. The other thing that I can do is I can say, draft an email about a product recall for a certain product. Because I've had correspondence, I may have had correspondence about that recall. I may have a Word document about the recall. It will draft the email on that content. I can also say, draft a reply to Rachel asking her if she could update the third quarter sales numbers. So you get the idea. There's some good things here. It gives you some prompts. It gives you some frequently asked questions. Like I mentioned in the Word webinar that we did for Copilot, you can come in here and here's all the different Microsoft products. I just, for our purposes of the day, I just brought up Outlook. So that kind of concludes my presentation for today. You can check out, we have one more seminar, webinar coming up on Excel. That's in 2 weeks. All of these are recorded, and you can reach out to SafetyNet by contacting your account manager. If you have any questions in general and you're not a current customer of SafetyNet, you can send an email to info@safetynet-inc.com. So do we have any questions?
I don't see about the question any in the chat. I think it's awesome, though. I didn't realize that the calendar, searching in a calendar for your next meeting with somebody is awesome, because I do that a lot. It's like, I know I meet with them in the next month, but when is that? It's pretty cool that you can do that, or summarizing those emails after vacation, getting through the junk. Anybody have any questions? Everyone's very quiet in the chat. Let's give them a minute here and see.
I don't. And if you raise your hand, we can take you off mute if you prefer to ask a question. Oh.
So you see that she missed the first minutes today. How does she find the Copilot, the recording? Missed the first few minutes today. How do I find the Copilot? Do I download an app? Oh, how do you get Copilot?
How do you get Copilot? That's a very good question. You have to have a Microsoft Business Basic, Standard, Premium, or Enterprise license, and then you have to purchase Copilot for Office 365, and that is a $360 annual charge per user. You'll see that Microsoft says $30 per month, but it actually has to be paid annually, so it's $360. As soon as you enable that for a user, you then will have Copilot? That's a good question.
Yep. All right. Anybody else? It doesn't look like we have any more questions, so maybe everyone gains 5 minutes back of their day. I guess, Jenny, what we currently recommend is that you identify power users, folks who frequently use the programs, and get them the Copilot license, which is correct. So we've been trying to start out with, hey, who are the people who use it the most? Even at Safety Net, that's what we did. We grabbed our power users, get familiar with it, test it out, get that license and get it going. And then from there, evaluate who else might need the license. Tracy says, yep. Thanks, Jenny and Greg. Great job. Or Timothy, sorry, not Tracy.
Yeah, it's a great tool, and I would say just start using it. The one issue that you have by opening it up company-wide is you do have to take a look at some of your security settings, because you can actually, for calendar invites, you can, if you have the security properly set, say, hey, find a time for a meeting with Jen next week, and it will look at Jen's calendar or my calendar and suggest a time. But I have to have the permission set to do that.
All right. I think that's it, Greg.
Well, thank you, everyone, for coming, and hope to see you in 2 weeks for Excel.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.